What happened with Georgia's offense against Kentucky? That's the answer that we are here to. That's the question that we're here to answer here on Film Don't Lie, presented by ASW Distilleries, Breda Pest Management, and Oconee Gold Barbecue Sauce. Brent, I'm going to pull this video up. We have a lot to show here, so we're going to be quick in this intro. Overall, though, as we get into this, Georgia's offense, execution issues, out of sync, play call stuff. A lot of people upset that you only beat Kentucky by a point, one touchdown. What were your overall takeaways?
I think early in the game, it's one of those where you know that, hey, maybe I can just kind of ease into the game because you don't fear the other side and you don't fear the other side's offense as much and you trust your defense. So you're trying to work, some running game things. The biggest thing for me was just they were in 2nd and 7+ almost the entirety of the game. As well as the fact that you didn't see a lot of early down play action until the second half. And once you saw that, it gets Carson, to me, that above all else gets Carson back in a rhythm, because him making throws that are 10 to 15 yards down the field, that just seems to be his mojo. And there wasn't a lot of that until you started doing that early in the second half. Once you got rolling, you got a little bit, but again, execution issues, and then also just sheer number of possessions. Kentucky had 23 first downs. They kept the football. And we're going to show, when we look at the defensive side, just little things they did here and there to keep the football. And then you got to press all sorts of things. But yeah, there was a lot of issues. But in the end, 13 points isn't good enough. But I've now, as I wrote after the game, at Kentucky, from now on, it's penciled in as an under close game until proven otherwise. It's just fact now.
Kirby Smart during this game often talked about Kentucky's defensive line overperforming. That's not the word he used, but really dominating line of scrimmage. We want to show you what some of that looks like, and it starts here. Ernest Green early in the game on a 3rd and 5. If you can get a lead in these games early on, it can change the trajectory of it. Georgia couldn't do that because, in part, of efforts like this.
Well, it's one of those, they 3-man rush, and he anticipates an outside rush, and I think is anticipating the guy working into his outside shoulder, and in essence just leaves a gap to the inside. And the other thing is, Kentucky did a good job of mixing up a rush 3, drop 8 versus, hey, we're going to bring 6 or 7 on third downs. And because Georgia, by the way, right now, under 40% conversion on third down for the year. I don't think they've been under 55% under 50% for many years. So struggling on third down right now. And a lot of that is teams necessarily aren't threatened by the outside. And you got to then go make plays. And I actually like the end of this almost, how Beck tried to make a play here. And I would have loved to have seen, because if you just do that right here, and he's sitting there with no pressure, and because he's got nowhere to go with the ball right there, nowhere to go with the ball. Maybe he checks back to the middle of the field, but there's a robber sitting there for that.
Yeah.
Would he have given Delp a chance at a jump ball there? Because Delp's on the sort of corner route against a smaller corner. I would have liked to have seen that, but obviously you didn't get to because of the pressure.
I'm glad you said that about the robber there, because naked eye, it's like, well, if you have the milliseconds more, like there's space, but again, you just don't throw back across that way when the play is obviously designed to go over here based on the targets.
Yeah, and also one where that guy's following your eyes. He's moving differently based upon how the quarterback's moving or looking.
Yeah. And now a couple times we did see some throwbacks across toward the middle, both with Vandergriff and Beck, and usually didn't work out very well.
Yep.
All right, so let's get to my main point that I have in this, and I said this on the post-game overreaction show. Carson Beck needs to be the last of this breed of quarterback for Georgia, and what I mean by that is a non-running threat. He's mobile enough, he's run enough to make some plays. Defenses do not have to respect him running the ball that way. And I think Georgia in its recruiting is showing you that it's going to have quarterbacks that can run as well. That's what all levels of football are desiring at this point. Watch how hard this crash is here. Now, Etienne tries to make something out of nothing. He did that a lot in this game.
Phenomenal effort from him to get what he got here.
But if you're able to crash that hard and not even look at this play fake, you might as well not have a fake.
Yeah, and this was, by the way, we kind of will point out at some point. Not, I think I'm going to do some things later in the week showing some of the struggles they had on the perimeter. Like second drive, you had Jurasic that was sort of two straight whiffs, one of which on a bubble could have been a touchdown / huge play where he just whiffed on the outside. But we get to this where this was another thing. Kentucky consistently had sevens and oftentimes at 8 in the box like they have here. And the thing is this play could still kind of be successful a little bit if, like you said, you don't get that hard sort of crash because of any level of threat. But also, I'm curious why Ernest Green did what he did here, almost setting up as a. I mean, I get you want that guy going out. To me, he can't let that guy cross his face when you're running counter to the right. If you get that and get it quick enough, maybe you can get something. But still, again, another first down play where you get nothing. I think out of the first 11 first downs, they were in second and 7+ on 10 of them. So that means no rhythm, no just general positive vibes for your offense, and you're just kind of stuck in the mud anyway.
8 loading the box here, and Georgia's kind of playing in a phone booth at that point if your quarterback is not more likely to bounce us out here. That's the main point I have.
Well, I mean, it's one of those where are you going to ever run a true read game, or much like what Kentucky did with the split zone where the QB might keep? It's not his game, and it's not going to be there. But I do think there was one early in the game where it's like, okay, at least have a threat to where if it's a complete easy go get 5 yards for the QB, just to go with that, fine. But I'm more of the ill of structure your offense around that. Get this in the pistol, do things where you can go both sides, things like that. But like I think overarching thing, yes, you're right. That it's just the mobile quarterback. It's a must in today's world of quarterbacking.
What's also a must is for your offensive line to not be a mess in multiple ways. This is a second down play, second quarter. I'm going to start with eyes on Dylan Fairchild. But you can also go to the right side with Michael Morris as well.
It's one where, for me, all right. So let's pause it at the snap. This is another thing that, like you've heard me talk about. I'd love to see them use more pistol. I'd love to see them use more pistol. It's because when the back is offset, so often defenses now, one, line up, and then two, slant and angle and do things like because your back is offset to like Carson Beck's right here. Watch the entire defensive line move. This is one where Walker there, but they're all moving left. Yes, you're zoning left, and that kind of causes some of that movement, but their initial steps are also there too because the back is offset like that. I would love to see them. And by the way, when you think about a lot of this, I think that they're going to see things a lot different. You're going to see more aggression and way more aggression in 2 weeks in Tuscaloosa. But go back to the right before the snap, right? A little bit before the snap, right there. I would love to see, especially early, when you have this look, try to go get outside. They did this early against Clemson where it's a little pop pass to Arian. Like if you're going right here and Truss is scooping right, working right, 4 is working right, all that there. But yes, you get a Fairchild. I will say if he doesn't whiff here, like leaning, because by the way, that's Jared Wilson taking on and moving Deion Walker out of the way right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's phenomenal. And he's been awesome, by the way. He's been really awesome. And you could still have a big play right here because there's kind of congestion and ETN gets through there with a little more speed if you stay on that and don't miss that one.
Maybe.
And the other thing too, like if I'm again,
also
this is
Delp.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's how backside tackles happen.
Yeah. And then also, and for me, you hear me talk all the time, and this is, I don't know exactly what's taught, what's not taught, all that sort of thing. But if I'm looking at Micah Morris here for specifically at right guard, and I know that I'm climbing up to that linebacker, and I know that the ball is supposed to go left here. I need to get my head on the defender's right side. there and just be sprinting and working toward there. And then that guy gets in the play just a little bit. So it's just little details like that that you end up with 3rd and 5 instead of, 3rd and 1 or, first down potentially, and or ETN 1-on-1 with a corner, which you like your chances there.
We should also acknowledge Kentucky's defensive front is good. These are
Yes.
really good football players.
Walker's going to be an NFL player, Sunday player.
These are hard assignments for Georgia, but Georgia's offensive line is one of the best and most talented in the country. Now, I do think when Tate Ratledge went down, you saw not necessarily the performance drop, because it's not like Morris and Fairchild aren't capable, but Tate Ratledge is just more consistent overall.
Yeah, and if you look at it, it's like, okay, why show little things? Why show a lot of negative? Well, because you didn't even have 300 yards of offense. Like, it's a struggle. You only had 13 points. It's a struggle. We don't get to show a lot of positive in this.
Well, we have some positive in here as well.
Yes, mixing it in.
Yeah,
always got to mix in some positives.
Let's get to some decision making here for Carson Beck, because on
its
its
face, dangerous.
I mean, this is a throw into double here.
It's anticipate. I think it's anticipating the throw here, or it's quick, boom there, and the other part is there's no threat to 54 right here to his right, so it's easier for him to know that I'm just working left as soon as the hand comes off that. That's tough.
Now, also, there's no one open that I see other than if you want to come backside here to Branson, which this is a timing play, so that may just be the fail-safe if something really goes wrong and you just have to dump it off somewhere.
This is one where, we've talked about this in the first 2 weeks, where I think he's tried to play make more. That was a time to do it. They rushed 3, and all those guys are working to his left. Push up through that grass. It's 3rd and 3. It's not 3rd and 7. It's not 3rd and 8. It's 3rd and 3.
Yeah.
Push up to him, give a little, pump fake. Whoever you want to, Mahomes style, whatever you want to go to in terms of a comp there, but go play make there. That's just yes, there's a lot of, hey, I believe I can fit in that window. That's tight, but still, that's really tight.
Well, and
he'd probably like to have back.
Knowing how Kirby Smart talks about this turns into a field goal, right? So this is a potential 4-point mental mistake, potentially, if depending on what happens after that.
Or 7 if it goes the other way for 6 for a touchdown.
Yeah, correct. Didn't even think about it that way. This is a 1st and 10, 3rd quarter, roll out.
This is where one of those. And by the way, they started this. It's a great job of faking out Walker, using the pump fake. All this is great. Everything there is great. But you just missed the throw.
Walker plays it well. We've talked about how Carson Beck at his best is in rhythm, in timing, on his platform. This doesn't seem to be his game as much. And some quarterbacks, this is what they're significantly better at. And I think we saw Vandergriff was better at this thing. Not necessarily than Beck. I'm not comparing the two, but rather than being in the pocket. I mean, that...
Well, and I don't know this for certain. This is just guesstimation on my part based upon watching 3 games. I'm sure he saw a lot of the conversation regarding the deep ball sort of underperformance in a way and struggles with it, or the missing of the conversation around that. And, draft guys talk about it, and they see those tweets. Hey, we want to see more playmaking, or we want to see, more deep ball accuracy, stuff like that. You can tell that he's made a conscious effort over the first 3 games to put more air under a lot of these throws. And to me, it's almost like all the wires are crossed. Whereas this one's like, I'd have loved to see him be normal Carson Beck right here, just put it on his chest almost, because he can make that throw.
I did text this play to someone that knows quarterback mechanics better than I do, and they just said piss poor.
Well, the feet are there. He's not reset. He's flowing left, trying to throw the middle of the field. There's all sorts of issues there, but still, that's one where you've got so much room to be accurate. Which also, by the way, if he fully resets after the pump fake, boom, here, reset and look. It's not just one option.
Mm-hmm.
Look down the right sideline. That's Mr. Smith.
He fast.
like either way, you've got multiple big play options here on a reset, and it's just one where you hit it. Now, granted, I think this ends up being, I think this is the touchdown drive, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
because the next play that we'll show, and it was the one after this, he comes right back, which is one of his best assets. Have a bad play.
No, I think they get the 9-6, so this is still a field goal drive, but still that could be a humongous play. That's 35-40 yard play minimum.
Let's get to that next play here. So now 2nd and 10. Again, rhythm throw.
This, like the very next play,
Yeah.
this is amazing. This utterly.
But this is the difference of him being in the pocket on schedule. Boom, go.
And knowing you're going to take that lick.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
And this is one where you oftentimes think too, does the chess game of offense versus defense play calling, the offense call here beat the defense call. They almost, in a way, I would think are playing almost a run stunt in a way, because they've been so consistently running on 2nd and 10 or 2nd and long in this game. And you get 2 verticals here with 2 stop routes on the outside. Both of those guys are open. But great job of him here. On the broadcast, by the way, I think McElroy kept saying freshman mistake. Did he not say that on this play? I think he did. I can't remember
doing the
exactly.
watch-along show, so I didn't hear McElroy.
So let's talk about that. Is this a freshman mistake? I don't think so. I would almost be 99.9% certain that it isn't. Because go to the pass. Go. So pause it there. Pause it a little bit back. Right there. Guess who the big fella should block? The bigger fella for Kentucky. Like Green should stay the outside. 3's got the blitzing backer or blitzing sort of second level player. I would think so. And I think he's maybe just thinking, oh, closest line of the QB, somebody's not there, when he was actually there. But that's just a heck of a job by Beck standing and making that throw because he got licked. And then Lovett making plays, getting yards after the catch.
Most consistent receiver, for sure.
Yes.
I love it.
6 catches, 80. I mean, half of their yards.
I saw the comments while doing the watch-along show. A lot of people didn't like the screens. What I'll show you is they're not always bad play calls, but this is one where execution is just, I mean, it starts here with Xavier Truss losing his footing.
Okay, I think this is actually...
I mean, you can criticize... specific to this, you want to criticize play call? Totally fine with that. I'm saying throughout the game, I wasn't as, mad about it as some fans were commenting.
And by the way, some of those now screens are very RPO driven and or decision based upon numbers, counts, things like this. But we've seen this one for 3 weeks now, and it's just nothing. And the problem with it to me is I would almost rather it be just a toss quickly to the running back versus. But here's the thing: it doesn't set up play action. Now I will say they set this up later in the game. They run this play where it's, hey, we kind of fake that later, and then we try to hit something. And I think getting and we're going to show that later. But yeah, the DBs see that action and see the pace with which Beck is moving, and they're beating the blocks because they can play it so aggressively here.
Too slow of an action for you, so they get to play fast. Yeah.
Yes, I'd rather, if you're going to do that, just put him beside you and hand it to him. Do that. I mean, I get that there's things off of that, but this is 3 weeks now where this thing has been, in essence, lost yards or no gain.
Yeah.
And I get that, like I said, I get that it sets things up later, but find different ways to set things up that don't put you in 2nd and 15 or after a penalty 2nd and 20, because it was a false start that puts him in 2nd and 20. And then you get probably his best throw of the day.
Absolutely.
Well, I'd say second best throw, actually.
Fake. Step up. Boom.
And by the way, play action, and I always say this, it works independent. It's 2nd and 20. And the biggest thing that it does, people talk about it gets linebackers to suck up and throw behind him. No, it's timing. When you do that and then take your drop, routes can get down the football field. And you have 2 sort of in-breaking routes where it's boom, one crosser, clear out, next crosser, there, boom, on the money. Like, that's as good as it gets. that's rhythm in structure offense. That's as good as it gets. And that's, I think when the Dylan Bell's lone catch in the game.
Yeah. And I think most fans really feature that guy more. We saw what he can do with the ball in his hands last year. Made a good catch here. Also of note, Arian Smith once again. Let's run away. They were willing to get down the field and try to present shots if they were there.
Yeah, and he could have taken that shot too, because there's space between the numbers and the sideline to sort of put it there. But this is just, when you get this on 2nd and 20, and by the way, great pass pro. Wilson's blocking his tail off, hasn't given up the pressure yet this season. So
wow,
this is as good as it gets.
Jeez, that's fantastic. Let's get to this is Colby Young on the right. Reminded me of a little Jake Fromm back shoulder.
Well, he got a man indicator, and just take it all day. And
Cash
you got to do this
game on 3rd down to leak out. But I mean, you have that height, you have the sideline. This is a safe throw,
and that's why you see motion so much. And I think they do a good job of using motion. And this is one where I think your offensive call beats the defensive call here. But it's also when you had their corners weren't big. This could have been something that could have seen maybe a little more, but it wasn't necessarily there based upon how Kentucky was playing the game. Kentucky was playing the game very much keep everything in front. I think only occasionally did they really press up and dare you to beat them over the head.
Well, and let's look how fast this happens. So this is at 1.5 seconds here. Snap. Boom. Before we get right at 4 seconds. So this is 2.5 seconds that Kentucky's defensive line has something to try to do against Carson Beck.
Yeah, and you're not going to get it. You're not going to win. You're just not going to win in this situation.
Yeah, and that's what Georgia needed a bit more of, but Kentucky was disruptive, and Georgia didn't do some of the things it needed to do in this game. What did you think about Nate Frazier down here in the red zone?
First play, I think that he was the one who ran it on 1st and 10 to get it to 2nd and 5. Great job of getting north and south. This one I wasn't so excited about, and for a couple of reasons. One is that's just, to me, that's one of those young guy mistakes. Hey, I can outrun everybody, and when in doubt, I'm gonna bounce. No. When in doubt, cut up, get north south, and because there's a second cut to make here.
Go with those cats. They're bigger.
Follow the large arses that are in front of you. But the other part here for me is this. Like I said, it's bad cut. I would got to cut north south here, but I didn't understand why Micah Morris felt the need to work and get that guy, the backer that's coming there, and then because you're zoning left, and Wilson. I don't know if he's thinking that now because that guy's coming that Jared Wilson is going to take the defender over him, but it's one where personally I would have loved to have seen Micah go there, Truss go left, and you leave Zero on the backside, who's not Mr. Speed guy, and you just leave him untouched. But again, these things are happening, game speed, crazy fast. But yeah, this is one where you kind of cost yourself a little bit because you bounce and so instead of being at worst 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, and maybe you make a second cut to go back in the middle and score. Now you're at 3rd and 9, I think it was after this, 3rd and 10, something like that. And that was another one where you didn't have a good play on 3rd down.
And to my point about running quarterbacks, and this is not part of Georgia's offense. I don't take this as a criticism here, but the way that Morris is blocking this, just if you have a quarterback that Haynes King at Georgia Tech does this, right? Where the way this is blocked,
I mean, just the threat of the run. I get it.
Just the threat. Again, that is not part of Georgia's offense. Georgia does not have the personnel.
Dayne just
pull
wants
that
to see
off.
it.
I just want to see it in there because I've seen other. We saw it. Cade Klubnik
And you're
should
going to
have
see it in
scored
2
on a
weeks.
play. Cade Klubnik should have scored on something like this against Georgia in Week 1, and he decided not to do it.
Yeah.
In future iterations of Georgia, I think that extra wrinkle may be there. Gunnar Stockton would be a guy totally that could pull that off. Brock Vandegrift can do some of that.
I'll take where they are right now in terms of those 3 options. But
look,
yes.
I'm not comparing and contrasting anything other than future iterations of Georgia's quarterback will be greater running threats. They also need to be freaking good passers like Carson Beck is.
Yes.
You can't
Very
just
true.
have one or the other anymore.
Very true.
Because the other side is your South Carolina trying to win with Robbie Ashford.
Good point. Good point.
Georgia's down 6-9.
All right, so this is where ETN just says, okay, I got this, fellas. Couple runs before this. And by the way, all right, so go back to the snap, a few things after the snap here. This is the counter to the play that I hate. So you got that action. Now, I will say this. If you're going to do this, I would love to see Beck slow play the fake. Like he slow plays, like he throws the norm, like when he threw it to whoever, what was it? I think it was Frazier earlier. Like just slow that, because then when you turn your head around, Delp is right there, right between the defender and the ump, and you're thrown in that window, and that guy maybe takes a step or two outside instead of instantly getting into his pass pro because you're quick with your fake, because that's a throw that's NFL open. That's boom, there, hit it. He gets up the field, gets tackled, whatever, gain. Now, ETN does a heck of a job in open space, makes you right no matter what, and you minimize risk, fine. But that's getting that crosser right there, one of those leaks, one of those crossers, or even something deep off of that. That's the reason you've run the earlier play and taken the 5-yard loss, is so you can get something right there.
Yeah.
So take it. But anyway, great job by ETN. To me, he was the one who, if you look at, all right, there's a lot of really good on Georgia's offense who was great. He was great in this game. And said,
I like how you point out how these things are connected, though. That one play really does lead into the next, into the chess game of how this operates. This is not a play in a vacuum to determine what works and what doesn't. One reason this works this way may be because of what we saw earlier.
Yep.
Speaking of Trevor, fourth quarter now, 3rd and 1.
He's a baller. Just gets it. I mean, he's a millimeter from a house call. But what's amazing about this, so pause it after he gets the ball. So he's pressing and staring at the left A gap to Wilson's left. Because we got A on each side of the center, B on each side of the guard. And then runs to the right, like sets that up and runs to the right B gap. So he jumps multiple gaps there with the vision and makes 54 wrong. Because 54, by the way, linebacker for Kentucky, if he played well, and if he didn't make some of the plays that he did, Georgia's offense would have been more consistent. But
shout out to Dylan Bell's technique here too, of let's get to this shoulder and get him out of the way.
Just move them wherever they go. But that's just phenomenal. That's your running back making you right. That's how it's supposed to look. And then you just missed a touchdown. But you got it a few plays later. Speaking of.
Branson here. I still want Branson to get more carries. I know Trevor's great. I just think the combination of the two can be special.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's one of those games when you're down consistently is why you stick with the veteran there. But this is again, talking about making the running back making you right. It's a phenomenal run.
Yeah, I'm going to pause it here. And I think I put this on Twitter too. Oh, if that's even a little bit late. Does this look like it's going to be a touchdown right there?
Yeah, jump cut, phenomenal.
Whoop.
Great work from him. Boom.
I think he's a very dynamic player for Georgia. But I do think this brings up a little bit of what is Georgia's team identity. And I think it's going to be through offensive line and through ETN and Branson over time. Not to say that the other things aren't there and valuable, but just based on the quality of talent at tight end and how that's shifted this year, I think Georgia's advantages at running back and this offensive line
Well, it's one that we've talked about, kind of matchup dependent, but it's also, I think, the play action game drives your explosives, and then you use the running game to finish people and do things like and get leads and then take over games, things like that.
And I get fans like hearing me say that and be like, "Hey, Dayne, they didn't break big runs all night long." And I'm like, "Okay, I understand what you're saying, but it also kind of manage. You have that punter too. You can manage field position a lot if you're getting positive plays." And I like Georgia's ability to put together drives more when they lean on these two.
Yep. And what's amazing is I do like the action, by the way, with Arian. And it's one where if you'd say, hey, who did their job on this play? I'd say maybe like 3 people, 4, other than the running back.
Yeah.
Maybe 5.
Freeland,
again, working hard, by the way.
I need a little bit better here for.
Gets caught in traffic a little bit, tripped up in traffic.
Yep.
Not able to get a block.
Happens. It gets crowded in there.
Yep.
I'm not going to be a hater. He's better than he's a good player, and Georgia needs him. So
very much so.
Had the ankle too. Played through it. Tough guy. So Georgia as a lead has to hold it here in the final because
this is where many have said the OC dropped the stones a little bit. This is
bold
as good as it gets.
Call, Mike Bobo.
Well, so one thing about this is, and this is when you think about the game, the college football game this year strategically versus previous iterations, you have the extra 2-minute timeout, and then they had 2 timeouts plus the 2-minute timeout here. You have to throw and go be aggressive here. Now, the best part of this is outside the catch is the throw, because watch his eyes, because he knows this corner is hanging, and he stares at the corner long enough to where he can't get involved with the play and just has to make a diving. That's when scouts look at it and be like, okay, that guy can go work in an NFL offense and throw in rhythm and manipulate defenders and be accurate in the deep intermediate areas. That's as good as it gets.
Beautiful route from Lovett as well.
Yep.
And then finally, I was asking for a bit of a running threat, and in the wee moments of the game, Georgia abandons what is its typical identity, and old Carson Beck keeps it with a blocker in the open field, which I don't know exactly what Delp is doing here. I don't know if you're trained to keep your guy on the inside to run clock, or if this is just a miscommunication and a whiff. I'm not qualified enough to answer that.
There was a very interesting, because Kentucky took their last timeout, I think, right after this. And there was a very interesting shot of Kirby being very vocal, we'll say, to maybe Carson as well as coaches. And he's like kind of pounding his chest, like, my bad. I don't know if he's talking about ball security or I don't know. It's interesting, but yes.
I know he admitted that there was a section, and I think it was after that final timeout, because there was a penalty as well. And it was something, there were like 8 seconds that Georgia had snapped the ball that could have run off a clock because Georgia didn't realize the clock was running.
That's maybe what it was. That's
so I think there was a clock management thing there. Kirby also took the L on that too. He was just really frustrated that, like, I guess no one in the organization realized that the timeout was that the clock was running because of
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
so it had to do with a penalty and a timeout there.
You couldn't truly finish it off on offense, but at least you had the drive that that gave Kentucky little like negative time, basically no time to really do anything and be a threat once they did get the ball.
Just for my conjecture here, I was trying to give Delp a little bit of credit because I really don't know what's trained here. My assumption is this is way too wide because if he can make a block here, I like Carson's ability to get the first down and then you get the first down.
Maybe.
Rather than have to do the whole punt thing at the end of this. And that would obviously be preferable in this situation. But
or you set up a closer third down that you get.
Yeah, but if it ends up being 3rd and 5 and he went out of bounds and stopped the clock and couldn't Kentucky keep the timeout, I also understand why Beck's like, I ain't even flirting with that too.
Yep.
So, really tough call there.
Bold play. Basically survived.
Bold play to do this, but I thought Mike Bobo's sequencing and I thought Georgia's clock management at the end was pretty solid to secure the win here after what I thought was a very dumb call from Mark Stoops to punt the ball.
Oh gosh, that's as bad as it gets. Wrote in notes, game over. That's one where everybody in the country writes game over. And by the way, there's another play that we're going to show, I think, in the defensive video. Jalen Walker makes a play on 3rd and 8. Maybe it's a running play and sets up 4th and 2, 4th and 3, maybe. And he kicks the field goal when they're up. Like, you got to know that you need touchdowns and need to keep the ball on all those sort of things. Yes, that was Mark Stoops probably didn't play a lot of Madden.
I doubt he did, but he is very well qualified to be an Iowa head coach when Kirk Ferentz lets it go, and he has Iowa connections. So, just say this felt like a Big Ten old school game. I said that to
very
Coach
much
Donnan as well. This Georgia felt like it jumped in the Big Ten in the '90s there.
But you survived. You've now played, like we talked about, the season and is kind of in these quarters. All right, first quarter is now done. You've gotten through those 3 games. Offensively, for the most part, you are healthy. The Tate injury, I don't know, like in terms of how long that does he play for against Alabama? I don't know. Is it something that's going to linger much longer? Don't know, but you at least have the depth there. I think tackle play was a struggle, especially in pass pro, and that's where it's going to have to get better in the next 2 weeks before you go to Tuscaloosa. But I think Georgia's offense is going to look a lot different from an aggression standpoint. I think you're going to see more early down play action. You're going to see more ball being pushed down the field, unless they just realize, hey, we got a physical advantage, which I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. So it's going to be a good game in 2 weeks, that's for sure.
And we will have an Alabama preview that we compile over the next week that will appear here on the channel as we do a scouting report on the Crimson Tide and what they did to Wisconsin, which a lot of Milrow and seeing some of their school guys. Hey, we are brought to you by our friends at Oconee Gold Barbecue Sauce. And Brent, I tried the wingy sauce. I've been telling you for a couple weeks that was the next in line for me. I liked it a lot. And
Roddy was fond of that too.
It's a really good dipping sauce, but then you can also cook with it a little bit too. Maybe put it on the end after something on the grill. Very versatile is what I liked about it. Not as hot as you might think. Sometimes you get wingy, you think buffalo. I didn't get as much heat from it, but again, maybe my heat tolerance is
you're more tolerant to that stuff.
Compared to you, at least. That's fine. Breda Pest Management is also supporting us here at Film Don't Lie. They're the official pest control of the Georgia Bulldogs. Check them out, BredaPest.com. They protect Sanford Stadium. They can protect your home as well. And ASW Distillery, I have their logo up twice here, and that's how much I just like what they do. 5 of the 6 founders are UGA grads. They like to say that they are distilled by dogs. And I am operating currently on about 3 hours of sleep after post-game overreaction show, and then beginning to rewatch for Film Don't Lie. And I had some of that Hunker bourbon on the show last night, but I didn't have enough that I think I couldn't do my job very well. Georgia-Bama may change things a little bit.
I will say I'm not a fan of the night games.
Really that's because you and I
for
have
us
kids.
Personally, it messes with the schedule a little bit.
You and I have kids, and we have to wake up early for higher education jobs, and it's
well, it's just for like the rewatch stuff. Like usually, if it's like the noon game, Clemson, like that, I got that thing rewatched before Sunday even comes. So this is you got to do this.
Those noon
for those,
kickoffs,
by the way, UGA Sports members, if you haven't gone over, I did a play-by-play whole notes thing on the dog vent for offense. So a lot more stuff there on the offense in the vent.
So check out Brent's content over at UGAsports.com for Georgia and Kentucky. Thank you, ASW Distillery, Oconee Gold Barbecue Sauce, and Breda Pest Management. That is our live show for the moment. We will have a play of the day. Jalen Walker, who I made the bold proclamation a couple of weeks ago that he's Georgia's best player, and I'll be darned if it doesn't look like he has a chance to be Georgia's highest drafted player based on what he's doing right now. I will say that. Malachi Starks is hanging out there too. But different
positional value might kick one over the other. That's for sure.
Pass rush. He's among the best pass rushers in the country. Jalen Walker is. I also have our look at Georgia's defense, which I know there's some belly aching about it being a close game, but still has not given up a touchdown. I think you'll like what you see from a lot of Georgia's defense. Some things to clean up as well. Some things that Kentucky did. Some broken plays. Some tackles that were missed.
Tackling was a massive issue, and we'll get to that. And a lot of just gutsy performance. This guy's playing tons of snaps that aren't used to playing tons of snaps. It was actually very impressive performance offensively, I think, or defensively. Sorry.
If you like what we do on Film Don't Lie, subscribe to this YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow that page. We'll have more content coming from Georgia and Kentucky. Also, a preview of Alabama. Thank you, ASW Distillery, Breda, Pest Management, and Oconee. Go barbecue sauce.